we've seen it multiple times in the last so many years at World Cup downhill races where somebody breaks their chain at the start of a run and then goes on to have a podium or winning race time. The most recent example of this is Thibaut Deprella in Val di Sole this year. Broke his chain like 20 seconds into his run and then managed to lay down an insanely fast time on debatably the roughest track of the year and finish in third place. So today, we want to test if riding without a chain is faster. And then beyond what it says against the clock, we want to find out if there's just a benefit to riding without a chain day in and day out in a bike park. So why would riding without a chain, in theory, make you go faster?
Sure. So there are two things that the chain's doing when a bike suspension is moving. Obviously, it depends on the bike, but generally, as your bike's rear suspension compresses, the suspension can sometimes tug on the chain and cause your crank to kick back a little bit, and you can feel that through your feet, and that can sometimes disrupt how you're placing your bike on the ground. It unweights you for a second. And the other thing that can be happening is the chain is literally just whipping around, and that makes a lot of noise. And sometimes that noise can have a pretty big influence on you mentally, and maybe you think that the bike might not be performing in the way that you had hoped, or technically that extra weight might, a very small amount, negatively impact the suspension performance itself.
Between the two bikes we're going to be riding, so a V10 and a Frameworks downhill bike, is there one that you would expect to see more of a benefit riding without a chain?
Not necessarily. It's a kind of a toss-up because both of these bikes are pretty good at managing how the chain influences the suspension setup. On the V10, on the latest design for their kinematic, they've done a great job at reducing the amount of chain growth as the suspension moves through its travel. And then on the Frameworks, it has a decent amount of pedal kickback, but that's fully compensated with the use of this O-chain pedal kickback device that essentially allows the chain ring to move as the chain tugs, and it sort of negates what's going on. So it'll be really interesting to see which bike does better.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we have a free lap timing system set up on a trail here in the Whistler Bike Park, and we are gonna do a timed run with the chain and a timed run without a chain. On top of that, we're gonna do some additional riding, mostly without a chain, just to kind of see what the feeling is. What are the benefits of maybe not having that chain slapping around? Maybe there's some perceived benefits outside of just going faster. V10 with the chain, here we go. Beep, 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 beep. We're cooked out a little bit. All right, recapping what we were out there doing today. Let's start this off by, was chainless faster for you?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, why do you think that was?
I don't know why, but because I couldn't pedal, I almost felt the bike kind of like scooting out in front of me more, and then I had to get on top of it. That doesn't make sense, but that's what I felt. The thing that does make sense to me is that because there was no noise, there was no distraction, and because there was no distraction, I could kind of put that extra bit of mental energy into riding that line more aggressively.
Surprisingly, riding with the chain was actually faster for me. It was small, it was only a second quicker than riding without a chain. But what was interesting for me, and maybe my main takeaway, is that my chainless run, which I did second when I was more tired, in the middle of it, I was perceiving it as I'm going so much quicker. And just like you're saying, there's less commotion, less noise, less things for your mind to grab onto when you're trying to focus in a race scenario. And I thought it was going to come down and be a couple seconds quicker without a chain.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of placebo. I think a lot of that does just come down to mentality when you don't have a chain and you can't pedal, and then your bike being quieter. One of the things I was looking to kind of answer from this little experiment is, would you ever take your chain off to just ride the bike park? And like today we did a number of runs with the chain, we did a number of runs without a chain, and I would say that we felt marginal gains riding without a chain, whether that was just the noise, maybe a little bit of comfort. I felt a little bit more ground feel and traction, and the bike just riding calmer, but a lot of that is perceived. If you were going to do it riding in a bike park, you wouldn't be taking your chain off to go faster. Maybe you would be looking for comfort in those different things.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a good exercise to take your chain off every now and then. It's not always the most practical because you got to scooter your bike all around. And yeah, I mean, you could argue that you're wearing less stuff out, but like that's not a great argument. But every now and then, whether you take your chain off or just not pedal for a bunch of your runs,
Yeah.
I think you will get better as a rider
Yeah.
because it changes how you go into corners, and especially flat corners where you're like, okay, I need to carry speed out of this, and I know I can't pedal. I'm going to brake less and I need to commit, and I'm a little uncomfortable that I'm committing because I'm going faster than I want, but I need to do it. And that little step forward forces you to get better as a rider.
Yeah, I agree. I think not having a chain on isn't always the most practical, for sure. If you're in a place like Whistler, you can get away with it quite a bit. And we finished our lap today on A-line, which could be the like smoothest plus roughest trail here. It's like very hot and cold with all the bomb holes and corners, but I felt like I was rolling the fastest I had all week. And I was hitting corners the hardest because I knew if I needed to throw in a crank, I couldn't. And maybe the goal with all of that was it was just more entertaining on trails I've ridden a bunch of times.
Yeah, totally.
After doing this experiment, taking our chains off, timing runs, riding with it, why do you think racers are able to lay down such fast times once their chain breaks in a race run?
I think that it's because they convince themselves that they need to.
I think I would agree. I think a lot of it is adrenaline and the urge to make up for something happening.
Yep.
I don't think I'm fully convinced that it's the bike working better. You can't pedal, you have to carry speed.
Yep.
That's it.
You have to carry speed, and I think that's the key.
Yep. Cool. There it is. Take your chain off if you want, or don't.
I
You'll
don't
probably
care.
go the same speed.